Just a warning, this episode contains content that may be distressing to some listeners.
I will never forget it. I was in labor.
This is Amanda Roberts, Virginia's sister-in-law. You met her briefly last episode. In 2013, she was giving birth for the first time. She was 20 hours into her labour. She had a serious pregnancy complication called preeclampsia. Her vision was blurry and she was scared. Her partner Sky, Virginia's brother, was there, and so was Virginia.
And she's standing next to me and she's like holding me and like rubbing my back.
Virginia, a mother of three herself, didn't leave Amanda's side. "You can do this," she whispered. "We're here. You're okay." But under the harsh hospital lights, in the midst of pain and fear, she noticed something odd about Virginia.
And she had like this scarf around her neck. Around the scarf, like you could see kind of like marks all around her neck. Like her chain had been pulled up against it. And I touched it and I looked at her and like, she looked me dead in the eye and she just shook her head and said, "Not right now. This is about you." That was the first time that I seen something like that.
We left off last episode with the birth of Virginia's daughter.
It was because I gave birth to this beautiful baby girl.
That's when she sparked into action. It's when she realised she had no choice but to speak up about her abuse at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein and his circle of high-powered friends.
We can't just sit by and be silent anymore. We've got to do something about it.
In this episode, we track those amazing wins she had, like taking down a member of the royal family, as well as her private battle behind the scenes with Robbie, her husband.
But remember, Virginia kept her domestic violence battle a secret until very late in her life. The only signs visible to the outside world were things like that mark Amanda noticed on her neck, hidden by a scarf. And even then, Virginia was reluctant to confirm it was Robbie. But there was one incident when Virginia could not hide the abuse. It was an event US authorities took very seriously, and one that would have lasting consequences for Robbie.
From the newsrooms of The Age, the Sydney Morning Herald and WA Today, I'm Carla Hildebrandt.
And I'm Mel Fyfe, and this is Virginia, Episode 2, Husband, My Saviour. Trying to piece together the real picture of Virginia's marriage to Robbie is like trying to find clues in a cold case. Virginia only revealed the truth of her relationship in the last months of her life, and it was only then that some of her closest friends found out the extent of the violence. One of them was Dinny.
My name is Dini von Muffling, and I was Virginia Roberts Giuffre's publicist. I met her 7 years ago through a mutual colleague.
3 weeks before Virginia's death, she sent Dinny a text about the first time she alleges Robbie was going to hurt her. It was just after her daughter Ellie was born, and remember, we're not using her real name because she's a minor.
She writes, "Even when I had Ellie in my arms as a baby, he was coming down off a 3-day bender and punched me in the face, which dropped me to the floor, continuously kicking me in the stomach. This man has been violent throughout the whole marriage, and I did call the cops on him, who turned up. And by that time, Rob reverently pled on his hands and knees not to charge him. He always apologized and said that he needed help and would never do anything like that again. But as time went on, it only got worse. I am shattered even writing this."
In their reporting last year, our colleagues at 60 Minutes found at least 7 of Virginia's friends to back up this allegation. This is one of those women whose identity 60 Minutes kept hidden.
She had a very obvious black eye. I just said, "That wasn't Robbie, was it?" And she said, yes, she said it was. And she just sort of shrugged and just said, "Oh, it was just a little scuffle. It's no big deal."
After 11 years in Australia, Virginia, Robbie, their 3 kids and 2 dogs moved to Virginia's home state of Florida. She missed her brothers and had dreams of living in the same place so all their kids could play together. She also wanted to be closer to the lawyers working on bringing Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell to account. While looking for a place of their own, they moved in with Virginia's older half-brother Danny and his wife Lynette, who you also met in the last episode.
I think everybody was so excited to be together. It was romper room every day.
They lived in Titusville, known for its small-town charm and being home to NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Danny agreed to sponsor Robbie so he could work in the country. For a brief moment, Virginia had her loved ones close and she was happy. But Danny and Lynette began to notice little things about Robbie, troubling things.
He always went after people that were weaker than him. You know, he was yelling at women in public and waitresses and people walking in front of the car. And it just always seemed like, you know, he wanted to have a good old punch out.
But he was definitely becoming a little louder. It seemed like on level 10, there less conversation, more yelling.
And what was Virginia like with Robbie? Did you see them being affectionate? Were they loving?
They would swing from one spectrum to the other. They would be very affectionate towards each other, especially while they were entertaining. It was almost like they were putting on a show. But behind the scenes, they fought a lot. Sometimes we would go to their house and everything would be jovial and fine. And then sometimes we would go over there and it was the exact polar opposite. Everybody was on edge and he wasn't talking to anybody.
After a few months, Virginia and Robbie bought a house, an idyllic 2-story home on half an acre. It had its own canal with ducks and turtles and was a short 10-minute drive from Danny's. Here's our colleague Cass again, reading from Virginia's memoir.
Skydie and his girlfriend moved in with us for a while, which I was thrilled about. It was amazing how quickly we fell back into our old teasing routines. I'd call him stupid head, he'd call me sissy. It felt good to have my family around me again.
But it was at this house that Robbie first showed his aggressive side to members of Virginia's family.
It's a beautiful spring day in 2014 and Virginia's putting on a party. Sugared up kids are running around the yard and Virginia's thrilled to have her family around to celebrate.
It started out, it was a great day. They loved hosting.
That's Danny.
My daughter was probably only 2 or 3 months. She was a newborn. We go to the birthday party, family's there, there's all the kids are there, they're playing outside.
Amanda remembers it didn't take long, though, for the atmosphere to shift.
And then I saw Rob approach Sky and they were talking for a moment. Like I just had a really bad feeling. And then all of a sudden, like Rob is standing in his face and like screaming at him at the kids' birthday party.
Robbie had been drinking and he had it in his head that Amanda had been spreading gossip about Virginia.
I remember him saying, like, my wife is causing rumors to the family. And I'm like, that's not true at all. I mean, we wouldn't say anything. I just want to be around my sister and my nieces and nephews and get to know them. And, you know, he becomes very angry very quickly. And I remember at one point he actually chased me down into the yard.
Danny had to intervene to protect Sky.
We finally broke free from the backyard where all the people were and went into the front near the garage. And my sister was there and I said, Jenna, like, you got to control him.
And I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to physically altercate with you. I'm not going to punch. I'm not going to throw. Like, that's not who I am.
The kids are upset. They're crying because they are just seeing their father like scream at their uncle. They have no idea what's going on. And Virginia's outside and she's like kind of apologizing to us. We're walking to the car to go put my daughter in. Sky's holding my daughter in her car seat and Robbie comes running from the backyard and he charged Sky while he's holding my 3-month-old. Okay. And Danny then jumps in between and he's like, you need to back off, and like pushed Robbie back. And then we just ended up going in the car and leaving.
When we spoke to Sky and Amanda, they were sitting on the couch in their Colorado home. It was late and they'd just put the kids to bed.
Bobby and Estrella, we are still on the phone. I swear to God, please. Thank you. I love you.
Sky's a warm man with a beard and Amanda's slight with dark straight hair. They both cried several times during our interview. They're still mourning their sister, but they also carry some painful memories. One of those was how Robbie treated them.
He called me a bitch. He was just aggressively yelling at me. And I was like, why are you like, I love Virginia like my sister. And I only like respect her for everything that she's been through in her life. And he's like, I have to protect my wife. And I was like, protect her from who? From her family? From us? Like, that doesn't make any sense, you know? And he just kept like yelling over me and basically, you know, separated her from us.
It was clear to Virginia's family that Robbie, with an accusation here and a rumour there, was trying to alienate her from them. This is how Danny saw it.
You know, one of the things that really bugged me about him was he was constantly going after my family, Virginia's family, and like, oh, your mom, oh, you, oh, Sky.
And in the case of Virginia's mother, Robbie's abuse came in the form of a steady stream of messages. Hey, Mel.
Hey, Carla.
So we've got access to these text messages Robbie sent from Virginia's phone. They're from a few years ago and they're replies to Virginia's mum.
Yeah, it looks like Robbie's replying on Virginia's behalf. And some of them seem to be out of care. Like he says things like, she's sick or she's sleeping.
Yeah, but some of them seem quite aggressive. Robbie seemed to have an issue with Virginia's mother. We think because he thought she failed to protect her from her husband's abuse.
But we know that Virginia had decided that she wanted to have a relationship with her mother.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm looking at one here. Virginia's mother writes, just want to tell you, I love you, honey. Keep holding on to good things and know that you're a wonderful, beautiful, very special woman. Love you.
And in response, Robbie wrote, shut up, stupid, and a meme that says, I see dumb people.
Yeah, he sends a lot of memes that say things like, I swear I'll bitch slap you, and many messages about being stupid or a loser, and quite a few that feature pictures of witches.
And then there's this pattern where Virginia apologises at the end, saying something like, I know Rob sent you a nasty message. Please don't take it personal. I love you, and one day I know in my heart that we will get along.
Speaking generally, when domestic violence experts see a perpetrator try to isolate a victim from their family and friends, they'll immediately raise the prospect of coercive control.
My name's Heather Douglas and I'm a professor of law at the Melbourne Law School at the University of Melbourne. I've been working on family violence and essentially legal responses to family violence for the last 20 years or so.
Coercive control, when abusers try to limit the freedom of their victims, is really topical in Australia right now. Several states, including New South Wales and Queensland, have made it a criminal offence and more states are set to follow. The tactics of a coercive controller often differ from relationship to relationship. Heather says research shows it's mostly men who use it and it often starts slowly and builds up.
Often women talk about their friends and family members being picked off one by one, to the extent that the only person left in their circle is the perpetrator, really, who's the only adult who they're really having a consistent relationship with. So their whole perspective on the world starts to be managed by that individual. We often see that physical assault is there, but only sometimes or only at the beginning of the relationship, but it sets up that power and control over the other person. They know what that person's capable of. Degrading or humiliating comments. Micromanagement is really common, making demands on the way household tasks are done or the way parenting is done. Often children will be weaponised against the victim survivor. Sometimes the perpetrator will get the children on board to give insults to their mother, or he will harm the children because he knows that hurts the mother. Similarly, animals. Pet abuse is really common also as a control tactic in family violence.
The tricky thing about coercive control is that it can look like love from the outside, or at least begin that way.
Some women will interpret the kinds of behaviours of their abuser as care rather than as control. So there are really good examples of possessiveness and jealousy being read by women as he really loves me and no one else. You know, you shouldn't go out because you get too tired and you've got a lot on tomorrow. It could look like caring, but if it's happening all the time and there's a pattern of that behaviour, it could also look like trying to control. Women, if they do come out of coercive controlling relationships, often come out saying they've lost who they are. They don't know who they are anymore. They have no idea of what they like. One woman told me she didn't even know what colours she liked anymore after leaving a violent relationship. So it's terribly damaging to a person's psychology and their individual lives and their free lives.
It was a British tabloid journalist who first tracked Virginia down in Australia and asked her to speak publicly about her experience. This was in 2011, not long after Virginia had decided to somehow speak out about her abuse. As Virginia details in her book, this reporter, Sharon Churcher, had worked out her identity as the anonymous Jane Doe 102 behind one of the more intriguing Epstein lawsuits. It was particularly intriguing to Churcher because Virginia's testimony included the line that she was sexually exploited by Epstein's, quote, adult male peers, including royalty. When Virginia told Churcher on the phone that the royal was Prince Andrew and that she had a photo to prove it, the reporter immediately got on a plane and flew across the world to meet Virginia where she was living on the New South Wales Central Coast. It would become that iconic image of the Epstein scandal. Prince Andrew with his arm around the slim waist of a 17-year-old Virginia, Ghislaine Maxwell beaming in the background.
Now to the growing royal scandal on the cover of every paper.
Produced this photo. This infamous photo with Virginia Giuffre.
Photo of the former Prince Andrew and his alleged
How do you explain that?
Virginia
I can't, because I have absolutely no memory of that photograph ever being taken.
Do you remember meeting her at all?
No.
Since she'd filed her Jane Doe lawsuit, Virginia had noticed what she called shady characters hanging around their house. She believed this was Epstein's way of intimidating her. But when Church's story hit the press, she also found paparazzi on her doorstep. This would happen on and off for years. When the family moved to the States in 2013, it got worse. Even when they moved to a remote part of Colorado, journalists would appear, apparently from nowhere, lined up in the drive outside their house.
We were chased so often that Robbie became adept at turning down side streets at the last moment, pulling speedy U-turns and driving more like we were in a war zone than a rural hamlet. This was crazy making. At times I felt like we were skirting the outer limits of our sanity.
But over the next few years, the family also noticed something else, the sort of things that other Epstein accusers were experiencing, like coming home to find deadbolts unlocked and doors open, bright car lights aimed at windows. Eventually, Virginia and Robbie bought 2 guns and learned how to use them at a shooting range. This is how her brother Danny remembers one episode.
Her whole house had been tossed. Everything in her drawers and closets were flipped over on the floor, and when they went through everything, they weren't missing anything. There was still money and jewelry. They weren't in there to steal. They were in there to scare.
In 2013 and 2014, Virginia worked with her lawyers to try and piece together her time with Epstein and identify the men she was trafficked to. When flying interstate for lawyer meetings, Virginia told her kids that her job was fighting bad guys. But her advocacy came with consequences that she was not prepared for. In her book, Virginia speaks of the weight of being re-traumatized time and time again. She was constantly asked to identify her abusers from bundles of photos she was shown, And although she sometimes got dates wrong, what impressed many who came into contact with Virginia was her memory. She was consistent. This is journalist Amy Wallace, who collaborated with Virginia on her memoir.
The thing she always said to me is this: I may not get every date, every time, every day of the week right, but when you have a man on top of you, his face 6 inches from your face, and he is raping you, you remember that face.
By late 2014, Virginia's hopes of playing happy families in Florida were in tatters. She had wanted to reconcile with her father, but he'd been a terrible disappointment. So Virginia, Robbie, the kids, and a menagerie of animals, including a snake called Athena, moved to a small town in Colorado to be closer to her mother. In January 2015, Ghislaine Maxwell made statements publicly calling Virginia a liar. So, in a multi-million-dollar case that would ultimately be successful, Virginia sued Maxwell for defamation.
A defamation suit brought by Giuffre, who Maxwell describes as an awful fantasist and an absolute total.
Ask you about all the allegations that have come out, Ghislaine.
Happy New Year.
Do you know Virginia?
Stephen, thank you.
Can you at least say if she's been in your house?
Around this time, the Epstein victims were coming out of the shadows and banding together. They were starting to speak out in a campaign for justice.
On my best days, I could picture myself standing shoulder to shoulder alongside these brave women. While I still had moments of weakness, more and more I was feeling strong. It was time to fight, and for the first time in my life, I felt ready.
The sun had just set on a March night in 2015 as 2 Fremont County police officers drove the gravel road to Virginia's Colorado home in Penrose.
Most properties were 5 acres. Just a small community. It had maybe a couple gas stations, a small grocery store, and a post office.
That's how former Detective Sergeant Dale King describes Penrose. It's a 2-hour drive south of the state capital, Denver.
It's not a place that you would be going through if you didn't belong there.
Dale has a head of greying hair, kind eyes, and was talking to us from his office. He was wearing a brown sheriff uniform, like he'd just stepped off a Hollywood film set, with badges and a huge duty belt.
That part of Colorado is like a high desert. You had more cactus than you had, other plants.
On this day, the police had received several 911 hang-up calls from the home. The kind of calls dispatchers are trained to never ignore. They knocked several times before Robbie answered. The sheriff noticed scratches across his face and neck and a cut on the bridge of his nose. A strong smell of alcohol lingered on his breath. Robbie would later tell the officer they'd been drinking at a bar earlier that day and then had some more at home.
And I don't know what the dog did, but the dog made him mad. And he got the dog in a headlock and started punching the dog.
Dale King was the detective sergeant on duty the morning after the incident who went to check on Virginia. He knew the couple because he and his partner had been out to the property multiple times to investigate those strange break-ins and to keep the paparazzi under control.
And she tried to stop it, and he turned from hitting the dog to hitting her.
Robbie told officers he'd simply been playing with their family dog, Bear, a husky Malamute cross, when it bit him. He said Virginia was upset because he'd disciplined the dog. When they saw Virginia, they knew this wasn't the full story. She had a bruise forming on her left cheek, blood on the right sleeve of her hoodie. You can see the bruise in the grainy photos in the police report. It's really forensic. Virginia's tugging down her top to expose her neck and collarbone. Close-ups of Robbie holding a ruler up next to the scratches on his nose. Even a photo of Bear the dog. Assault 3rd degree is printed at the top of each page, all 16 of them. The police said Virginia was, quote, very quiet, shy and distant, and she told the deputies she'd, quote, rather not say what happened. Robbie was handcuffed, arrested for assault and domestic violence, and taken to the Fremont County Detention Centre. Once he was taken away, the story emerged slowly. Virginia told police she'd tried to stop Robbie punching and kicking Bear. She said Robbie then punched her several times in the face and head. She said he grabbed her by the throat with both hands and strangled her. The officer said in the report he noticed marks near her collarbone. Then he said he found his handgun in their bedroom, put it in his mouth and tried to get her to pull the trigger. All of this unfolded while the children were in the house, according to the police report. Virginia told police she had a whitish clear fluid mixed with blood leaking from her ear, which police thought could have been cerebral spinal fluid, a sign of severe head trauma. The officers seized the handgun, 34 bullets and Robbie's 6cm knife. Robbie later told an officer in jail that he hit Virginia by accident. He was served with a restraining order and temporarily banned from seeing her. Something stood out for Dale when he checked on Virginia the following day.
So if you go to some place and there's been a domestic incident, and let's say the wife is the victim, and then that's the first time you hear things like, I don't understand, or I can't believe, or why did he do this? Or you hear all those questions, you're questioning it, and she didn't question it at all. And when I left there, I was pretty sure that, that wasn't her first rodeo when it comes to domestic violence with Robert.
Dale remembered Robbie flagging him down in the street while he was still bound by the restraining order.
He stopped me outside the sheriff's office, and he's trying to convince me that I have to let him get back home so he can protect her. You're going to go there to protect her? That's funny. I mean, hell, you're her biggest threat right now.
Dale noticed that Robbie seemed to soothe himself with the same story, the same narrative about his and Virginia's relationship. Like this belief made everything okay.
I heard the story from him so many times, I could probably recite it in my sleep backwards. I heard it so many times on how he met her and how he saved her, and the reason that she had everything and where she was today was, because of him. And I think we heard that probably every time we went out there.
Amy Wren was a local prosecutor at the time and investigated Robbie's assault on Virginia.
It was still one of the worst I've seen. I was really shocked that she hadn't broken something in her face.
She's now a top prosecutor in Texas and trains police on their response to domestic violence.
It's been recognized how dangerous strangulation is. It doesn't take hardly any pressure at all to cut off circulation or breathing.
Can you tell me about the way that she was acting or the way she was when you first met her?
She was very focused on what was going on with Jeffrey Epstein. Really, she focused on that and wanting to make sure that what had happened the night prior, that didn't reach the public. And she chalked it up to that he was just under a tremendous amount of stress, as was she, and he just handled it in a poor way. It had never happened before.
And then she repeated that same narrative, the one about Robbie being her saviour, the one they seemed to share.
Then she would, in the same kind of breath, talk about how he kind of saved her from Epstein, and they had children and they had built a life together. He had something very big over her. He saved her, right? And I think that, especially in this case for her, is a huge dynamic.
Hey Mel, so this police report from Colorado, the one with all the grainy photos of Virginia, Robbie and Bear, it came sort of out of the blue, but it was actually part of the first tranche of the Epstein files of all places.
Yeah, so the Epstein files are, of course, a collection of documents from police, the FBI, the government and the courts related to Jeffrey Epstein and his associates. They were partially released by the US government. But yeah, this police report, it really kind of changed everything for us, didn't it?
Yeah, because Virginia had told her brothers about this incident, but we understand that she actually, years ago, applied for this record to be suppressed, perhaps because she didn't want the public to know about it.
And then the police report just appeared in the Epstein files last December.
So with this report and a subsequent court document showing he did not appeal the case, we now have clear evidence of Robbie's domestic abuse, a permanent record supporting what Virginia had been alleging. Robbie flew back to Australia shortly after the incident, and Virginia's family begged her not to follow him. This is Lynette, her sister-in-law.
When he left, we felt this intense relief because that part was gone, and we begged her to stay in the States. And she wanted to keep her children with their father. She thought she needed to try to make her family work.
While making this podcast, we've tried several times to talk to Robbie and get his side of the story. In the end, we put all these allegations to him via his lawyer. Earlier this month, they released a statement to us. It said that for legal reasons, Robbie was limited in responding to what he termed various unfounded allegations, and that all he and his children wanted to do was remember Virginia as a loving wife and mother. It said that being in the public eye had caused Virginia to have significant mental health issues and an over-reliance on prescription medication. The statement also said, there appears to be an orchestrated attempt by, quote, persons to gain financially from Virginia's death. And these people, who should have been aware of Virginia's medical conditions, are making unsubstantiated allegations. This, the statement said, was, quote, simply disgraceful. A couple of years later, Virginia and Robbie were living in Cairns, in far north Queensland. Virginia had travelled to the US several times to give evidence in legal cases. And then, by the middle of 2017, Maxwell settled with Virginia. The payment was not disclosed publicly, but we know from documents we've obtained that it was $7 million US. After legal and other expenses, Virginia received closer to $3.8 million. This new money allowed her to buy a 4-bedroom home with an outdoor kitchen and swimming pool in a gated community. They lived in a street called Iridescent Drive. She was in her early 30s and Rob was entering his 40s. Everything was looking brighter.
For years now, my increasing activism had created a push-pull between us that at times had taken Robbie's and my marriage to the brink. At least now, I told myself, we were back in Robbie's country, where he felt more at ease. If I could use some money to help me heal, to let me focus on my kids, and to fuel my attempts to do good, then I was happy to take it.
This was around the time Virginia met Linda Freitag.
She was my best friend for many years. She was sort of like a sister to me. My maid of honour at my wedding and, closest person I had in the world. Miss her terribly.
Linda has olive skin and long black hair pulled back into a ponytail.
Yeah, we instantly got along.
She also has this contagious laugh.
Like crazy.
Punctuating the interview.
Yeah, just when you find someone who's sort of your person, there are instant belly laughs all day, all night.
The two women met at the beach with their families. Linda had 3 children at that stage.
So she had her kids, I had my kids there, and I had my rainbow lorikeet that was on my shoulder. And she had her red-tailed black cockatoo in a pram. And we sort of looked at each other as these two crazy bird ladies, and you're my person.
It was 2018, but Linda didn't know Virginia as the world knew her. And when she did find out, it only made her admire her new friend more.
And, yeah, that sort of sealed the deal for me because she was already my hero without realising who she was.
They went on holidays together. There were family dinners during the week with Chai, Linda's then husband, and Robbie, movie nights, camping trips.
We sort of merged families. We were just one big, massive family.
And what was she like with her kids?
She was an amazing mother. She was hands-on. She would, she had all the money in the world, but she would make things for them, cook home-cooked meals. Every Halloween we'd have a big event and she'd be there with all the kids carving out pumpkins, or, you know, Easter, she'd be doing these egg dyeing, or, you know, just different activities, and she'd be there with 12 kids circled around her. I've got some photos.
Virginia was generous, paying for Linda's wedding dress and organising a baby shower. By the way, Linda calls Virginia by her nickname, Jenna, the same one Virginia's brothers use.
We had an amazing day choosing my wedding dress. So we got a stretch Hummer, and myself, Virginia and Robbie and Chai spent the whole day going from Cairns to Port Douglas and everywhere in between in a stretch Hummer with copious amounts of champagne and other fun things. And yeah, it was the most wonderful day. And I found a perfect dress. Yeah. She liked to spoil her friends. I often found it hard to accept things like that because I didn't want her to ever feel like that was a part of our friendship as well. So a lot of people in Jenna's life were there for handouts, and I never wanted to be someone like that.
So we're just looking at Linda's Facebook photos of her and Virginia, their friendship and the time they were together in Cairns.
They're almost like a shrine to Virginia and to their friendship.
A little window into their life there, and this Virginia that I think a lot of us didn't know or didn't see in the public.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes me want to go and live in Cairns. Like, they seem to have had like the best time.
Through all these milestones in their lives, like in one of them, Linda's pregnant,
Linda's wedding.
You know, they're both in like funny little Halloween outfits and just laughing like their heads off. And I guess this is what Linda holds on to now, the memories of her and Virginia's relationship.
Linda's view on Robbie has changed now, but back then they were close. They shared a love of astrology and spirituality. They were both born in the lucky year of the dragon.
For many years, he was like a brother to me. And I truly believe that, you know, once upon a time, he did genuinely save Jenna from a horrible life and was a supportive husband. You know, like Robbie is a very strong personality type as well, but she was able to meet that in Cairns. He's extremely passionate. He's like a person of extremes. So, you know, like his darker side could be quite severe. But in saying that, so could his loving side. He was very much my home is your home. He was generous and considerate and outspoken as well in a good way.
Every now and then, though, Linda says Robbie's jealousy would appear.
We went to Movie World with our two families as well as with Robbie's nephew. And Robbie was on a ride with some of the kids, and Jenna got beers, and because she didn't get one for Robbie, it ruined the day. He went off at her, you know, made her cry at the theme park, all because he was jealous that she got Chai a beer. You know, he ruined the whole day for the children, for us, for everyone, because that was his jealousy issue.
By late 2018, it felt like the tide was beginning to turn. A major investigation published by Julie K. Brown in the Miami Herald identified 80 Epstein survivors. It exposed the extraordinary deal that had allowed the financier to avoid federal prosecution years earlier. Around this time, Virginia received a chilling call from the FBI telling her there'd been a credible threat to her life. She called the federal police, but after waiting on hold, the family took matters into their own hands.
Within a few hours, we hit the road driving north. Robbie drove for 8 hours straight. We ended up in a one-horse town at the top end of Queensland, not far from Cape Melville National Park. There we would stay, cooking and sleeping in our RV, swatting mosquitoes, and occasionally fishing for 3 weeks.
It's not as if the threat went away. They just realised they couldn't live as a family of 5 on the run, so they went home.
Day and night I worried that my family would be harmed by the very people who would hurt me when I was a teenager. It drove me crazy to think these people could get away with silencing me for good.
Around this time, when Virginia was fearful for herself and her family, she posted a tweet.
I am making it publicly known that in no way, shape, or form am I suicidal. I've made this known to my therapist and GP. If something happens to me, for the sake of my family, do not let this go away, and help me to protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quieted.
In July 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was arrested. He'd just landed his private jet at a New York airport. He was charged with federal offences related to sex trafficking. It was the moment survivors had spent years waiting for. He faced a maximum sentence of 45 years in prison. But as we know, it was just a month later when Epstein was found dead in his Manhattan jail cell.
Breaking news this hour, officials say multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein has taken his own life.
Epstein has taken his own life while he was behind bars here in New York.
He tried to take his own life just weeks ago.
Sex trafficking charges.
Why wasn't anyone watching Epstein in jail? How was he allowed to take his own life?
Linda can't remember if it was Epstein's arrest or suicide, but one of these occasions, they were holidaying together.
We popped open a bottle of wine straight away of champagne, and there was a bit of a celebration. Yeah, she was obviously very busy because she had the people from America on the phone for hours. It was a hotline. Everyone had wanted to talk to her about it.
Several weeks after Epstein's death, a judge invited Virginia and other victims to a court hearing. It was his way of providing some closure, now that Epstein's death meant there'd be no trial. Afterwards, Virginia addressed the waiting media on the court steps. She said her work would go on because many of the abusers were still free, including Ghislaine Maxwell.
I was recruited at a very young age from Mar-a-Lago and entrapped in a world that I didn't understand, and I've been fighting that very world to this day, and I won't stop fighting. I will never be silenced until these people are brought to justice.
The media wanted to hear Virginia's story, and she was willing to tell it. But as she writes in her book, the constant retelling of the abuse hit her hard. She quickly became burnt out. You can hear it in her voice in this video she posted to Twitter around this time.
Hi. Thank you all for your support. I'm not asking for a pity party. I don't want that. I just want to know that I'm on the right path and helping people, and some days it's hard. It's really hard. I appreciate all of you out there that understand that it's not perfect. My life's far from perfect. I just want to help. And the only way I know how to do that is share my story. But it's hard. I'm sure it'll get better. I just feel quite alone on this journey sometimes, and it's nice knowing that there's people like you out there. Thank you. Bye.
What happened next marked the beginning of a long and difficult decline in her health. Seeing how Virginia needed to get away, a friend booked a family holiday at a place called Butterfly Valley, south of Cairns. It was the perfect getaway for Virginia, who loved butterflies and the freedom they seemed to embody. Shortly after returning home, Virginia became seriously ill after being bitten by a mosquito. She contracted meningitis and was admitted to hospital.
She attempted to get up and go to the toilet by herself, at which point she slipped and broke her neck.
As Linda says, she broke her neck. Then she contracted pneumonia. In August 2020, Virginia had surgery to remove a shattered disc and to attach metal swivels in her neck for mobility. She posted a video to Instagram from bed while recovering at Sunnybank Private Hospital in Brisbane.
I just wanted to say a quick thank you to all of my supporters on Facebook and Instagram, on Twitter, and all around the world, family and friends. Thank you for caring so much. I am on the up and up.
She's lying down in a hospital bed. There's a heart monitor screen behind her and wearing what looks like a cold cap. There's bruising around her neck, but she's got her makeup done. You can hear hospital machinery trilling around her.
So much. Day 5 in ICU. I'm too tough for something like this to take me down, and I got a bionic spine out of it, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, I just wanted to do this to tell you all how much I appreciate your kind comments. And
looking at the post in 2026, there are new comments from only 2 days ago or 2 weeks ago. Strangers and admirers just saying how much they miss her, and blue butterfly emojis.
It's good to see the world caring so much about each other. Love you all. Bye.
She lived with severe nerve pain and extreme pain from then until her death, which was when she started on the opiate medication.
Virginia battled with a dependence on painkillers on and off from when her health started deteriorating.
She was disconnecting and disassociating a lot more with the use of opioids, which I can't blame her for, I don't think any of us really understand what she carried every day.
During these difficult times, Virginia gained strength from her children.
I continued to be amazed by my children. Ellie, for example, was a force. Tall for her age and physically strong, she was also insatiably curious about the world and a big reader. Later, she discovered a manga series called Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, about a 14-year-old girl and her older brother who have lost their entire family to demons.
The message of this song from the popular series is to stay in the moment and cherish family bonds.
You know, Mama, she said. Eventually, Nezuko and her brother vanquish the evil around them, and then they live a peaceful life. She was beaming at me, as if she'd stumbled upon a secret code for contentment. I hugged her long and hard that day. I'd been trying to protect my daughter from the world's ugliness, but she was developing her own ways of protecting herself and passing strength to me in the process.
On Ellie's birthday in January 2021, the family moved nearly 3,500 kilometres from Cairns to Perth. Virginia had just been paid another significant sum, $5 million from the Epstein Victims Compensation Program set up by his estate. Perth is one of the world's most isolated cities, but it promised better schools, distance from the media glare, and the possibility of starting again. But embarking on this new chapter, Virginia could not have realised she would become the most isolated in this move. She was even further from her family in the States, but eventually she'd be cut off from her immediate one too. In the next episode of Virginia,
the police knocked on the door. We were literally in shock.
It's what broke her. She loved her children and she was not even allowed to speak to them.
I mean, she was changing the names on Netflix of Mommy sees you, Mommy loves you, anything.
If you or anyone you know needs support, you can contact the National Sexual Assault, Domestic and Family Violence Counselling Service on 1-800-RESPECT, 1-800-737-732. Lifeline on 131-114 or Beyond Blue on 1300-224-636. Virginia is reported and hosted by Melissa Fyfe and Carla Hildebrandt. I'm Julia Carr-Catzel, and I was the executive producer on this series. Fact-checking by Mark White. Cormac Lally mixed the series. Thanks to our colleague at The Age, Cass Knowlton, for voice acting. Thanks to Tammy Mills, Lisa Muxworthy, and Tom McKendrick. Make sure you follow Virginia so you don't miss an episode. For bonus content, visit our websites, theage.com.au or smh.com.au. And you can send us questions, information and feedback to virginiapodcast@9.com.au. Virginia is a production of The Age, The Sydney Morning Herald, WA Today and Good Weekend magazine. Subscribe to support our independent journalism. Thanks for listening.